Windows 11 can be a heavy lift for a decade-old laptop. If you've tried the usual lightweight options and still feel the drag, there's a lesser talked about choice worth a second look: MX Linux. Today I'll show you why MX Linux 25 might be the best balance between modern hardware support and low resource use for seriously old machines, and when a pure ultralight distro like antiX still makes more sense. MX Linux 25, codename Infinity, is built on the current Debian base and ships with updated kernels and a handful of desktop choices designed to meet different hardware needs. It's a mid-weight distribution that borrows the very lightweight live system from antiX, while adding MX's own tools and polish. The MX team released MX 25 in November 2025, and is followed up with ISO refreshes that include newer kernel options for better hardware compatibility.
Why MX Linux for old laptops? MX25 aims to be fast without forcing you into a bare-bones, command-line-only workflow. It offers 3 primary additions to match hardware constraints: Xfce for a familiar, light desktop, KDE Plasma for feature-rich systems that are still surprisingly efficient, and Fluxbox for very low-power machines. That Fluxbox edition is an excellent compromise. Lightweight, but with good theming and MX's custom tools pre-installed. What's included out of the box? MX ships with the essentials you need for daily use: a modern web browser, media apps, and system utilities. But it keeps the ISO size modest. You'll find utilities for handling live USBs, partitioning with gparted, simple file sync via grsync, and standard apps like Firefox. Office suites aren't bundled by default, but they install cleanly. I tested only Office from the repo, and popular Flatpak apps are available through FlatHub.
This gives you flexibility, keep things lightweight, or add a few user-level conveniences as needed. You can grab Flatpak apps from FlatHub. Kernel and hardware support. Important. One of MX's advantages over some extremely minimal distros is its kernel choices. The standard MX25 images use a 6.12 LTS kernel series, while AHS/Advanced images offer newer kernels for better support of recent hardware. The MX project has also released ISO refreshes, 25.1, that add updated kernels and dual init options for broader compatibility. If kernel support is a deciding factor for you, for Wi-Fi chips, newer CPUs, or power management, MX's kernel selection makes it easier to get modern hardware working on older laptops.
MX versus antiX. Speed versus features. If you want the absolute lightest footprint, antiX with IceWM, the default lightweight environment, can feel snappier on the very weakest hardware. Fewer animations, fewer background services, and minimal desktop niceties. MX's Fluxbox edition is still very light, but it trades a tiny bit of raw responsiveness for useful GUI tools, theming, and convenience. In short, choose antiX for the last ounce of performance. Choose MX Fluxbox if you want speed plus practical usability. Everyday use cases, what I tested. On a 10-year-old laptop that was painful running Windows and sluggish on mainstream distros, MX Fluxbox felt smooth enough for web browsing, messaging, and light media. I installed Telegram for chat and VLC for video playback with no major issues.
If you rely on basic productivity, adding an Office suite works fine. But be mindful of RAM limits when running modern web pages or large documents. Customization and tools. Fluxbox on MX is more customizable than you'd expect. MX includes a theme editor, dock maker, and tweak utilities that let you strip down services, adjust startup apps, and tune visual elements to favor performance. These GUI helpers are what set MX apart from many tiny distros. They give you control without forcing you into the terminal. Who should choose MX25? Owners of older but still x86 64 machines. Note, MX no longer ships 32-bit ISOs. Users who want a balance of lightness and user-friendly tools. Anyone who needs slightly newer kernel support without moving to a heavy modern desktop. Who should pick antiX instead? People pushing extremely weak 32-bit or very low RAM machines, or those who prefer the most minimal live environments and maximum responsiveness. If you're resurrecting an old laptop, MX Linux 25 is a great middle ground. Modern kernels and useful GUI tools with a Fluxbox option that keeps resource use low. Try the live USB. Compare Fluxbox to antiX's IceWM and pick the one that feels best on your hardware. If you want, I'll link useful downloads and a quick checklist in the video description to help you pick the right ISO. Like this video if you found that helpful, subscribe for more Linux revival guides, and leave a comment with the specs of your old machine. I'll suggest which ISO to try first.